Ireland. There's been a lot happening in Ireland.
True, Sagar. There has been a lot happening in Ireland. You've probably heard about the riots that broke out in Ireland, because it seems like every pundit and their grandmother has uploaded a video on the topic. It's very rare for any of these pundits to talk about Irish politics, so it's been very surreal to watch it unfold. And it's been fun watching them stumble over words that are so familiar to me.
Leo Varadkar.
Leo Varadkar.
Leo Varadkar claimed
Taosich.
I'm not even going to pretend to pronounce that correctly.
And as an Irish person myself, I thought it wouldn't make sense if I didn't throw my 2 cents in. So what exactly happened that led to these riots? A man stabbed 5 people, including a 5-year-old girl. He's Algerian born, but had been living in Ireland for the last 20 years. Once word got out, tagged in with some misinformation, riots started happening in Dublin. I don't at all condone rioting, but I understand the sentiment and the frustration behind it. I love Ireland, the culture and the city, so it's very tough to watch it in this state of disarray. A whopping 1/5 of our population is non-Irish, facing a cost of living crisis, a housing crisis. The majority of Irish people think we take in too much refugees. Will our dedicated politicians listen to the voice of the Irish people?
Set a target to have a number of people from ethnic minorities in areas of the public service. We have a health service that's very diverse, although less so as you go up towards the senior positions, not so much in the Gardaí, not so much in the Defence Forces, not so much in the education sector, as the Deputy mentioned, not at all in the civil service, which is very white.
Ah yes, this is the real problem. Thanks for listening, Leo. There's just too much white people in office. That must be the cause of our cost of living crisis and the housing crisis. And just keep the immigrants coming without any thought for the long-term consequences. We're taking in more immigrants per capita than the United States or Britain, where a survey found 0% out of 500 British Muslims believed homosexual acts were morally acceptable. Ireland's gonna become like that too. And as you can see, the most popular name in the city of Galway was Mohammed, a beautiful Irish name. Or we can become like France, who regularly has news of terrorist attacks, stabbings, even beheadings for drawing the Prophet Muhammad. Or the case where a 12-year-old was killed, also by an Algerian-born person. And like in Ireland, if you protest any of that, you're besmirched as far right.
Frankly, disregarding, and this is what I think the reason that this really touched here, was their own domestic population whose houses are getting so unaffordable as they're watching foreigners get housed in state housing, as you have Irish citizens and others who are homeless on the street. That was like the core of the spark.
A pretty good summation by Sagar. Houses are unaffordable. 68% of young Irish adults are still living with their parents. And renting is so bad that sex for rent is becoming such a thing that we need laws to prohibit it.
And we'll get to the crackdown in a second if you want to comment on any of this.
But yeah, when you couple the highest homelessness that Ireland has ever seen,
Yeah.
massive housing crisis, yeah, the easiest thing for people to do is going to be, and for, you know, cynical politicians and influencers and whoever, is to blame the immigrants. And, you know, it's classic scapegoating. That's very common.
Oh yeah, it has nothing to do with the immigrants. Enlighten us, Crystal. What is the cause of our woes?
And people feel like they can no longer afford to live in the neighborhoods where they grew up and where their family is, et cetera. They feel like, you know, and like they have no hope. And so instead of focusing, it's classic, like, you know, sort of neoliberal political move.
There you go. Crystal just has to shoehorn in her agenda, even though it makes no sense. Neoliberalism, really? Apart from immigrants putting a strain on our housing crisis, despite being a capital city, buildings are extremely low in Dublin. And despite being an obvious way to ameliorate the housing crisis, to build upwards instead of constantly outwards into the suburbs, creating urban sprawl, the government either refuses or makes it very difficult for the market to provide these types of housing. Usually, the reason for not building up is because of the precious skyline, God forbid some politician will have to look out his window and face an eyesore. Even when building a children's hospital, the plans were originally rejected because of fears about this precious skyline. So no, Crystal. In fact, it's the opposite. It looks like a government problem worsened by government policies on immigration.
You know, Ireland's a small country. They got 5 million people. 140,000 people is a lot of people. And like 20% of your population being foreign born. And I'll press the red button and I'll go to what Margaret Thatcher said of her own country. Europe is about history. America is about an idea. It's like these are very different populations with very different understandings of immigration. They, I think, behave in a completely irresponsible manner.
Sagar just nailing it once again. You have to remember as well that we get a different type of immigrant in our European cities. European countries often have generous social welfare systems, which is different from the United States. Immigrants are mostly motivated by work. Not only that, but it's a drain on resources. So much so that countries like Denmark have stopped accepting EU immigrant quotas back in 2018.
The number that is housed by the state has jumped from 7,500 in 2021 to 73,000 in 2022.
Now back to Crystal for the most vapid nothing statement you'll ever hear.
When you look at, political science analyses of countries with large immigrant populations, when things are going well, it's fine.
Yes, if you can maintain a large number of immigrants without it destroying the economy, then that's fine. It's when you can't is when we have the issue. Does it just not intuitively make sense that people will be more okay with any government policy when times are good than when times are bad? So the fallout from all this is the government wants to issue more draconian laws to restrict speech. Just watch this chilling speech from an Irish politician that could have been taken out of the dystopian film.
When you think about it, all law, all legislation is about the restriction of freedom. That's exactly what we're doing here, is we are restricting freedom, but we're doing it for the common good. You will see throughout our constitution, yes, you have rights, but they are restricted for the common good. Then I believe that it is our job as legislators to restrict those freedoms for the common good.
As you can see, in the Constitution, you have rights, but we're here to take them away from you. It's insane how out of touch these politicians are with the general public. I'll probably do another video reacting to the left's take on the Dublin riots, from Hassan, Vosh, etc. Because it's my own country, I care dearly about it. So I found their takes, interesting.